What is going on, everybody? Looking good out here in this audience here, right here. Welcome back one more time to 3 and Out, brought to you by MyGarageBar.com and, of course, Disruption Network.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Did you watch the show the other day?
It was funny.
All pumped up? Yeah. Struggling.
Oh, it was great. It was fun for me, at least.
I'm sure it was. It was a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
I literally got done. I went home and I watched that and I went, what drug was I on? Something, man. It was just
lack of sleep. That's what that was.
Definitely lack of sleep.
Well, the benefit of that is that your struggles are my entertainment value, and I matter more to me than you do. So,
aren't they? Yeah.
Nice, Jamie. I like that.
Let's go ahead and bring you in. We don't even have to introduce you. Don Rickles over here. And there we go. There's the camera I'm looking for. Jamie Ostonet, what is going on, my friend?
outside of picking on you, not much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you worked with us doing a little stagehand work this week.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, actually. I had zero expectation because I have never done that before, except for whatever stories that you and Moss and even Z to a smaller extent has told me. So
right.
I walked in there and it was like, great. What do I do?
I think that's what everybody does.
Do I stand here with my hands in my pockets or what? But no, it was a lot of fun, man. It's kind of cool to see it from the other end of it, because basically you go to these concerts and you just see the show and leave.
Yeah. You don't realize how much work has to be done at the end of the show.
There's like 45 people just like scrambling. It's like a madhouse. I'm like, this is great. This is wonderful, though.
It's like ants. They just all pile on and just everything goes away. But you're right. It's probably, I don't know, 5-6 hours beforehand.
Yep.
And after the show, you're like, okay, now we're getting onto the second half of the day, and it's like another 4 or 5 hours before you get out
and move. That was it.
Yeah, and nobody knows where they're going. They just follow random people.
Yeah.
So,
you have a walkie-talkie. I'm following you.
that's kind of what happened. Erica Moss.
Nice. Hey.
What is happening?
What's going on?
Oh, not too much. And of course, you were at that show too.
I was there all day long.
You had to run camera.
I did.
For them. That was
that was very interesting.
A very interesting experience. Black and white camera.
Yes, their request was black and white.
That's very odd.
I wasn't a fan of it, but you know what? I just, I just work there.
That's right.
I just do what they tell me.
As we say after a while, like when people ask you what show you're working on, you say the one that pays.
Yep.
That's the one we're
doing. As long as I get a paycheck, that's all that matters. But, it was interesting. I had a good time, and hopefully I produced some good work for them. So
as long as you get a paycheck. Thank God she doesn't have that philosophy around here, or else we'd never see her again.
So is that there's no business like show business?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The check is in the mail, all that kind of stuff. Never gets paid. Mike Zigarelli, what's going on, brother?
Not much.
Jumping in here for Mr. Ray Nation, who I think is what's he doing tonight?
Is it the overtime again?
Why is Ray not here?
I think it is.
He called me. Yeah, he's doing overtime.
It's the overtime, right?
He's working like crazy.
That son of a bitch, I'm going to fire him from the job that he don't get paid from.
Because he wants to get paid for overtime.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. He's got to be here. I mean,
we need house money. We need house money. He's making real money. Is what he's doing.
Sure.
There's a holiday coming up.
Yeah. People on Christmas, they enjoy things like money and things like that.
Yeah.
We're trying. True. We're a building business, as they say, man. And
booming business.
Booming business.
Yes.
Yeah. What'd you do this weekend? Anything fun? Exciting?
I went to see my local high school, my alma mater, play, and first time ever in the Section 3 championship game.
Right on.
Came up on the losing end of it, but they got an at-large bid to the state tournament. No team ever in the history of Proctor High School in Utica, New York, has ever gotten as far as they have. And I'm proud of those boys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As an alumni of the school and the team, those boys deserve all the credit in the world, and hopefully they can make some noise this weekend.
This guy spoken like a true coach, huh?
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
Right?
You gotta love it, man. I can see him in the locker room being like, "Hey guys, we're gonna go
with that deep voice.
We're gonna go kick their ass."
Yeah.
So
there's a few more, but yeah.
Hey, Sarah Natoli is watching.
Wow. Hi, Sarah.
Wow.
We're going to see you soon, right, Sarah?
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So big games that went on this week. Lots and lots of upsets. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We're going to also be addressing that game, which I kind of think might be the game of the season from last night between the 49ers and the Seahawks. Wow, crazy game. And like 1 o'clock or not 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, still going on, that damn thing.
Yeah, it was like 12:30, I think, when I finally put the remotes down and called it.
Yeah.
I'm a little rugged for that one.
The only good thing about
A little more
that
tired.
game is, if you're any other fan besides the Seahawks or the 49ers,
Mm-hmm.
those teams are going to be beat up going into next
Oh
week.
yeah.
Because, wow, 4-5 hours. And,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
There were a couple injuries in that game. A couple potentially big ones as well.
Yeah, there were. For now, we want to start out. We always try to show a little love to all the teams around the NFL.
Very
Give them their time to shine, so to speak. And this week, we wanted to take a look at one we haven't addressed yet, which is, I'm going to try to correct myself now, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Very good.
I am going to say San Diego before the conversation is done, guys. I'm sorry. I even watch the NFL Network, and they do it on there constantly. They said the San Diego Chargers.
I think the team wants you to continue saying San Diego.
Listen, 20 years from now, they're going to be the damn San Diego Chargers. They might as well just move back because everybody knows them as that.
Yep.
But this past Thursday, they lost. Another loss, 26-24 to the Raiders, and they're now 4-6 after that loss, 0-2 in their division, and the conversation is certainly starting to pop up. Are they among the worst teams right now in football? I mean, I know their record is what it is, and maybe it's not as bad as a couple of the other ones, the Dolphins and Jets.
Yeah.
But they're a team that is as Jamie has said a million times, they're living in mediocrity. Right?
Yes.
And and here's the problem, as I see it, is that the Chargers, for all intents and purposes, right now, they're a healthy team. They have all of their big names back on the field, and they're losing to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. That's a real problem.
Yeah.
And I guess there's just no way to really excuse something like this. So let's talk about that a little bit. Actually, I'm going to start with you. You know what, Mike? Trial by fire. Put you right in there, man. So what specifically is not working for this team right now?
I think it's the coordinators.
Yeah?
You've had the same gentleman in your locker room for close to a decade and a little bit more in Phillip Rivers. Mm-hmm. He has led your team to one AFC title game under two different head coaches, I believe. One AFC title game. Mm-hmm. When you had every single thing working for you to make it to that game. He's never seen the big game. Mm. But you've had how many coordinators under you?
Yeah.
You can't make it work right now. The defense has never been top 5. You could say they were top 5 fantasy, but that's
different. That's
different story right there.
That's not even comparable.
Right.
When you look and you break down an NFL defense, it's nothing. Like, oh, I'm going to pick these guys this week.
Right.
No. They've never had the consistency up front. They've never had the consistency in their secondary, except for that one run that they had over 10 years ago.
Right.
And you're interchanging the same thing, but except you have the same pieces. I think Antonio Gates has been there for 1,000 years. Phillip Rivers has been there. You've had how many different wide receivers and running back combinations? I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson was there for X number of years, and you've literally put him on the back burner. Now you have Austin Eckler. You have Melvin Gordon. You've had these pieces, and you can't make it. You can't seem to figure out how it works because, God forbid, somebody goes down. Somebody's holding out. Somebody's doing this. This team has never had a consistent basis where you can get behind it, and I think it starts in your coaching staff, your OC and your DC.
Yeah.
You've never had it. You're trying to GM this thing with pieces that's not working once you put them down there.
Yeah.
So you could GM this thing from the boardroom. Once you put the players down there and they're not doing what you need them to do, it's kind of like a Moneyball situation. I give you this running back and you don't use them the way I see as the GM, even though you're the head coach. It's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Moss, let me jump to you. I mean, because...
Yeah, I mean, Mike nailed it on the head. The big thing is the consistency, and they just can't get it done. They start out so great, and they have so many playmakers on that team. They fall apart at the end of the game.
Yeah.
They have bad decision making, bad execution, and they just can't they can't get the job done. And this has been going on for years. And I don't think anybody really has that true answer of why it is what it is. I don't even understand it, because you look at the team as a whole and you're like, they should be winning every single game. And they come close to winning every single game. They just can't finish it.
Yeah, and I mean, we've said that before. Phillip Rivers is a very capable
Absolutely.
quarterback, and his numbers have been decent throughout his career.
Absolutely.
But again, he's one of those guys, I guess, kind of gets overlooked a lot of times. Nobody ever considers him to be like an elite quarterback.
Well,
but
he's leading the
numbers,
league right now in passing yards, and nobody would guess that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Once again, you're like, how are they failing? And and it comes back to that. Jamie.
I'll elaborate just a little bit more, because these two are actually both hitting it with the consistency thing. But what hasn't been said yet, when it comes to a lack of consistency, you also then have that one play, that big moment play, and you could look at it from this past week where you're down 26-24 because of a missed extra point. That is prime time for your playmakers to come up and go down and just get a field goal. You really just have to put it together for half of a drive, really, not even a full drive. But you look at that, and a guy like Rivers, who is, yes, leading the league in passing yards, I don't think he completed a pass, and then throws an interception on top of that, and shot themselves in the foot. So that lack of inconsistent play is also setting this team up to where when you need those players to actually step up, they're not there because they're just not used to playing at that efficient level anymore. 1 week you'll see a guy like Melvin Ingram rattle off 2 or 3 sacks. Next week you might not see him at all. He won't hit a stat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan Allen can disappear from time to time. I won't even get into the running game because there's no point in that. The most consistent piece is Austin Eckler, who's now not getting as many carries because the holdout was ended.
Right.
So, I mean, you're nailing it right there. It's the guys just aren't playing at that same normal, efficient, consistent level week after week after week. And the downfall with that is when you have that, it's hard to get 53 guys cohesive week in and week out if you're not all playing efficiently throughout it.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. It's not one person. It's 53.
Yeah.
And you have to be playing it, no different than watching the birds fly south. They're all in a V in a perfect angle for a reason. The Chargers, which I almost said San Diego there because they play way too much Tecmo Bowl. The Chargers are not in a V in any way, shape, or form. Every now and again, you have one guy drifting off because he wants to go off and do something else. And it's just that's kind of what's killing them right now. And when it comes to that play, they're missing that guy because of the inconsistency all the way through.
It's funny too because every year I feel like we do the same thing. We play the game where. Even on this year, we're like, well, once Gordon comes back, then they're going to really be back to being good.
Yeah.
And then Gordon comes back, and
It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once Hunter Henry comes back, then they'll be good. And then he comes back, and you're like, what now?
You know what I noticed? Not to interrupt you, but with mentioning Hunter Henry, they used him so much in the first half of the game, and in the second half, they just didn't utilize him at all. And you're like, he was producing so much. Keep that going. Keep that consistency going, and maybe. The end result would have been a lot different.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because there's no doubt that this team has needed some change for a little while. I mean, like you said, they've had those same guys on the field for years. They're just not getting it done. They got to do something to shake this up. If they decide that maybe they need to change the quarterback going into this thing. Or maybe they don't. I mean, Phillip Rivers, if you look, he's in the final year of his 4-year contract, which was $83 million. He turns 38 in December. I mean, I guess, first of all, what do the Chargers do with this guy? Going into next season, do you trade him? Do you... I guess, that honestly, you'd have to resign him or he can walk at that point.
Yeah.
But what do you do with him?
Go ahead.
I think that if he is willing to, they sign him to a 1-year respectable contract, not crazy, outrageous amount of money, but a respectable contract. They're probably right now at the position where there's a possibility they can get Joe Burrow from LSU. They let him sit behind Rivers for a year and then let him go. Let him go nuts because that guy's sick. I've seen him. He's pretty explosive. So
I think you're still going to have to address a lot of the other positions on that team.
Oh, you absolutely are. But if you're able to get him, I think that's what you do. But you can't just let Rivers go. I think just letting him go and starting a rookie quarterback is not going to be good for your team.
No, I agree.
I think that you're going to at least need to sign him for a year and let somebody watch him and learn from him.
You agree with that, Mike?
I was just shocked that she said Joe Burrow.
You do realize I am a Florida fan, and I have seen him many, many times.
That's my point. I mean, that young man
I've seen
did
him.
something that not many people do this past weekend, and
It's true.
Yeah.
I think they would be in a prime position to where I think they're sitting in this draft that he's going to fall right to him. And
Between 10 and 15 is kind of where I think that'll go.
And I truly think he's going to be right there unless, those draft day bells go off where he's trying to climb up. And the Los Angeles Chargers would be stupid to let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they can get up to 7 and take him, that'd be great. Because I think he'd fit in great there, especially if that 1-year contract is respectable enough for him to stay. It'd be great. But if they let him walk, he's going to be walking into a no-win situation, and the fans better realize that he's not going to do what he's doing now because there's nothing around him.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other stuff can be made up in free agency, and I think there's a couple talented wide receivers that want to come out there, especially knowing that he's either got one more year or they're going to be behind a rookie sensation that they're watching on Saturdays before they're playing on
Sure.
Sundays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the beauty of this, I'm so happy that they started this way because this goes to a great point that other teams, and you two are fans of them, the Steelers and the Giants.
We're all in the same situation.
One made a huge mistake and one didn't, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I think Zig knows where I'm going.
I know
with
where you're
this.
going with that.
Both of them have quarterbacks that are the same age as Phillip Rivers in Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. Now, what the Steelers did in last year's draft was address their potential future by going after Mason Rudolph.
Sure.
We've talked about him at length. Is he good enough? Doesn't really matter. They're winning. Who cares? And they're playing well, and they built a little bit of a system with Mason Rudolph in case Roethlisberger got hurt in this year or he's going to be gone. The Giants, on the other hand, failed because they waited and waited and waited. And even Eli started a few games this season and now just threw Daniel Jones into this. They went out and drafted some kid to do that. Now, I say that long-winded point for one reason. The Chargers absolutely failed in addressing this potential situation. He is in the final year of his contract. Yes, you probably have to sign him for a year because you have no other option anymore. There's nothing really out there that screams this is the right direction to go, unless you want to pull off what Denver did a few years ago when Peyton Manning retired. They didn't have a backup plan, and they've been swimming in quarterback hell for a few years.
Very true.
So,
Swimming.
yeah, that's really what they've been doing. So what you do is you try to go back in time 2 years and get a potential replacement for Phillip Rivers. Since you can't do that, you're basically going to have a mini fire sale or go the 1 year with Phillip Rivers and hope you can keep it afloat for a year. I think they made a huge mistake though by not addressing this earlier though.
Very interesting.
Let's jump over. Let's talk about the running back situation because that's another thing that's going to come into play here. And I just gotta, I gotta count. Ray Nation jumping in there. He said, "Yo, I'm here in spirit." I love it.
Hey, Ray.
What's up, Ray?
And I see Dave Bandage out there too. What's going on?
What's up, Dave?
What's going on tonight? What's he say? Puerto Rican rum.
Dave, you're our enemy this week. We'll talk about that later.
Yes. But my question was about the running back situation. Obviously, Melvin Gordon, he was holding out there for that contract. I think he held out to week 5, came back?
He came back week 5, yeah.
And never actually got that contract that he was hoping for.
Oh.
And he's just kind of playing through that right now. And I'm assuming he's just kind of auditioning for another team here in the future. But is there any way that maybe they would consider bringing him back? Probably not so much, right?
Tough answer on that one. I mean, he's got talent, so. But it's kind of hard to put a bad taste in a team's mouth and say it's okay and to re-sign him. To what he's probably going to want is to be a lucrative contract, which is going to be, that's my absolute assumption. It's going to be a pretty rich contract, but. Going back there though, it's just too tough. I know they want him to, but that's kind of like a bridge that's been burnt. I think so. I actually have a really odd feeling of where he's going to end up, and I'm going to really, it pains me a little bit to say it. It's going to be one of two places, and I hope it's further south. I think he's either going to end up in Miami, who's got a ton of cap space, tons of cap space going into next year. Mm-hmm. The other team that I think he might end up with is Buffalo, of all things. So you got Frank Gore, who's, we'll say, potentially hitting his last year, and a young running back in Devin Singletary. Got to have somebody to replace Gore, and they also have a ton of cap space. I personally, as a fan, don't want to see him signed. I think that's a pointless sign.
Yeah.
But that's my thought on that.
Yeah, I think that he's going to want way too much money. That I almost said San Diego. That the Chargers are going to want.
You're next. Mike. You made the mistake.
It almost happened twice.
I mean, he's looking for Le'Veon Bell kind of money, and I think he's been very productive since he's come back in Week 5. But actually, I think this past week was one of his best games he's had.
Yeah.
But I just don't think a running back deserves that kind of money. And because, look what Austin Eckler was able to do. As soon as he got thrown into the mix, he's just as valuable to that team as Melvin Gordon is. So,
and I think we see that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie and I have actually talked about that at end, where
ad nauseum, yeah.
there is just there's no shortage of running backs coming out of college that you can plug and play. And save yourself quite a bit of cheddar cheese there on the back.
I'm not saying that anybody can do it, but if you're behind a good offensive line, you're going to get the numbers.
That's your key,
So.
Absolutely. And I my next question here, and I see Rick Smith is actually posted on here. This kind of goes right with that. I was going to say if the Chargers do go into like a complete rebuild mode. What other areas do they need to address on this team? And I see he's actually talking about the tight end position here. He said, my contacts. He said, lost Hooper, pick up Rudolph or Jay Cook. So I'm assuming he's
Jared Cook probably.
Yeah, Jared Cook or Kyle Rudolph.
Yep.
And I don't know, either one of those interest you guys or think that would be a good fit, Mike?
I think they're going to save face and they're going to give Hunter Henry just a little bit more money, but the young man is hurt. As he's been injury prone. But, to come back to it, I'd love to see Gordon stay, but going off and piggybacking off of Moss, to get Le'Veon Bell type of money with what you've produced in this day and age when your lifespan as a running back in the NFL is a possible 5 years at best. You've got a kid coming out of college as a junior who's 21 years old, who'll play that rookie deal till he's ready to go somewhere else. And that's what these franchises are doing now. You're getting a kid like Saquon, you're getting a kid like Zeke, and they're playing for 3 years until they do what they're doing. Then you're going to pay them because you think they're going to be the face of your franchise. Obviously, you don't see that with Melvin Gordon, where I kind of do. But you've already invested so much money into Phillip Rivers. You've invested so much money in your offensive line. Your defense hasn't been played up there, but there's a lot of money there, and your cap is very, very limited. And the fire sale that Miami just went through right now to subsequently try to do this, he could end up going down there playing behind a QB, or they're going to go out and get another quarterback. Who knows? Their offensive line is still there, but they had a fire sale on that too to try to revamp wherever they're going. So who knows?
I think their big thing they need to address is their offensive line because they allowed Rivers to get sacked 5 times. They had a lot of injuries, and they specifically need to look at their offensive tackles. And that should be their focal point of the draft on top of getting a quarterback.
Yeah. Well,
And to go with, since Rick asked the question about shoring up a tight end as far as it goes, he's not wrong. Because a guy like Henry, as Zig already alluded to, is pretty injury prone in his young career. He's very, very rarely on the field. It's got like a little bit of Tyler Eifert or Tyler Croft type of syndrome when he was with Cincinnati. They're both just never there. But he's talented. I would see if you're trying to address the tight end position, sure, go after a guy like Kyle Rudolph, but you can't lose Henry. Yeah, it's got a lot of teams are going more the 2 tight end set. You want at least one vertical guy and then a better pass blocker at least. The Patriots in the past have used 2 vertical tight ends, and that's seemed to really just decimate defenses. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Moss has nailed the offensive line without a doubt. If you're looking on the other side of the ball, they're going to get better in the secondary by getting Derwin James back immediately, which the guy got hurt really late in preseason. He's out pretty much all season. That hit hard. without a doubt. If there's a bigger weakness on the defensive side of the ball, it's their linebacking core, I think, than anything. They got to shore that up a little bit better because they can get gashed a little bit in the run game. A lot of that is your linebackers, especially your middle linebacker. They're missing gaps up there. Defensive line gets more than enough pass rush, so you got to shore up that middle ground so they can come up and get that little extra press. Take those 5-yard carries down to 3, and that will help. That will help them out in the long run too. So those are like the 3 major areas I would say.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
True. Wow.
All
There it
that
is,
about
the Chargers.
I almost said it. All that about
All of
San
that
Diego.
about the San Diego Chargers. I'm going to keep saying it because I cannot stop.
Is it going to be the London Chargers? That's the question, right?
That will never happen. They
No,
will
it won't.
always be San Diego because San Diego is a wonderful city. That's,
And I got to tell you, you were talking about tight ends.
Yeah.
Using the 2 tight ends set. That did you see that the Patriots announced that they want Gronkowski, or I should say Belichick announced that he
here
wants
we
shocking.
go.
Big
Shocking.
shocker.
You know.
Nobody ever imagined that would happen. But
and it's gonna there's snow on the ground. That's another shocker right now in central New York.
The sun will rise.
Sun will rise tomorrow.
Oh my God, how's that going to happen? Crazy.
Shocking.
Let's take our break because we're under a little bit of a rush tonight. So,
Yeah.
Moss, you have trivia.
I do have trivia.
Let's hear it.
All right. I don't get my music, or do I get my
Do you want your music?
If you have it, why
Okay,
not?
Let's see what the music does.
Okay. All right, well, here we go with this week's Moss's Mindbender Trivia Question of the Week. We have a fantastic game this Thursday night with the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Cleveland Browns. So my question is, what Pittsburgh Steelers player holds the record for the team as a single season leading rusher with a total of 1,690 yards in one season? Again, what Pittsburgh Steelers player holds the record for the team as a single season leading rusher with a total of 1,690 yards in one season?
I know.
We're going to find out that answer right after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second down of 3 and Out, brought to you by Disruption Network and MyGarageBar.com. So before the break, I hit you with my Moss's Mindbender. That question was, what Pittsburgh Steelers player holds the record for the team as the single season leading rusher with a total of 1,690 yards in one season? The answer is
Bananas!
Barry Foster during the 1992 season. That was followed up by Jerome Bettis in 97. And then third on the list was Fast Willie Parker in 2006. There you have it, folks. This week's Moss's Mindbender.
Barry Banana.
Barry Banana. You know who was not on that list?
Foster.
Le'Veon.
Le'Veon.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
So I see Rick answered the bus.
Well, you were close.
Very-
He had 1,665 yards.
Ooh.
He was close.
And then, let's see here. Dave sent a question. It says, return question for Mossy. Who is the most rushing yards in a season for the Steelers without a fumble?
Ooh.
That's a nice question.
Fumble.
Without a fumble. Most rushing yards in a season for the Steelers without a fumble. I'm going to have to think about that just a little while.
If I had to guess, I'm going to say Willie Parker because Jerome Bettis fumbled the ball a lot. So.
I thought that no, he was fast. I was thinking didn't Willie Parker have a ton of fumble issues? I could be totally wrong.
If it's Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to puke.
I am going to puke.
It's probably going to be
Probably
Le'Veon
is.
Bell.
It's probably Le'Veon Bell. So,
Might have to Google that one.
yeah. So,
Can we just say
Good question,
We'll
though.
just say Merrill Hodge.
There you
Merrill.
go.
Yeah, we got to throw out Merrill Hodge for
Go
that.
back to
go.
for that
Merrill.
reason. Yeah,
Wow.
we're going that way. At least that's my answer because I won't.
Maybe it was
say-
Franco.
I won't say Le'Veon Bell either.
why don't we just go right down the list?
Yeah, let's just take them all.
Too funny. So, oh man, you know what? And I totally screwed it up earlier. I announced to everybody that we were going to be talking about, what did I say? The Lions.
The
right?
Lions, yeah.
We've already talked about the Lions.
Yeah.
Twice, I think, too, which is even worse.
Yeah.
There's a big swing and a miss because
Yeah.
I think we talked about the Lions like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We're actually talking about the Minnesota Vikings in the second half here.
Still the Central Division.
Yeah, but
Close.
Division.
I had the right division, guys. I had the right division. I just
You did.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
Still better than
oh
hockey.
man, Dave Bannon said, "Get the barf bags ready."
Le'Veon Bell.
Um,
Oh God.
Oh, well.
You feeling
Show's
better
all
now?
done.
Can we talk?
That wasn't my question, Dave. That wasn't my question for a reason.
Can we talk about Minnesota now so we can all move on and be happy? Yeah.
Hey, listen, I have to announce that I lost money
You did.
betting against the Browns this week.
You did.
And I'm sure Dave is going to be happy to hear that.
Oh, so it's your fault that that the Bills lost. Thanks, buddy.
And Hav and Carl.
Thank you.
They all bet. So don't bet this
Oh,
week.
that's right. They were all talking about it, and actually, I was getting sucked into it. They're like, "You want to bet?" I'm like, no, I want no part of that.
No.
Yeah,
I never will bet on your favorite team.
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
Our friend Fred Cousineau up at the Turning Stone, who works in the entertainment
Yeah.
department, is really, really, really big Browns fan, and still swears that they're going to win that division.
Yep.
I don't know how that's possible, but
So you were talking about sports betting at a casino.
maybe
Perhaps.
weird.
No, not at all. Not at all. That didn't happen.
See what
No.
happens when we're supposed to be working on shows? We're making bets.
Yeah.
Talking football.
Oh man.
So let's see here. We're talking about the Vikings, and they pulled off a hell of a win.
Yes.
It's, a primetime win, I should say. Sunday night, beating the Dallas Cowboys 28-24 in a game that Brian Allen still doesn't believe happened. And he came over the other day. He's like, "They didn't lose that game." I don't know. He was going off.
He
on
was
something.
losing it.
Oh, boy.
But I guess we should start off by talking about the obvious, and that is what impressed you most about that victory. Moss, I'm going to go with you first.
Well, right off the bat, Kyle Rudolph with his incredible one-handed catch in the end zone in the very beginning of the game that kind of started off this whole craziness with the Vikings. I mean, it wasn't even just the catch. It was the fact that he was able to keep his feet in bounds while he caught it one-handed. It was pretty impressive. And I have to tell you, I think that might go down, at least up until now, as probably the best catch so far this season by any team or any player. And, I know Kirk Cousins, he didn't have the best game of his career, but he did what he had to do and he won the game. So that's really what it comes down to. And he was able to do it without Adam Thielen. So that's kind of impressive.
Very true.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I don't have a player, not one player on the Vikings that gave it to me because it's a team thing that I have for this. It's the damn grit that they showed to beat this one out, to slug it out, really. I mean, that was a hell of a game. It really was a great game, especially to start the week, start the night game, I guess you could say.
Right.
Going into Monday with that, another one that we were talking about earlier, we alluded to. Those are back-to-back games were fantastic.
You know that the NFL was loving it.
They were just eating it all up
the ratings come in.
because they made sure I slept for shit those last 2 nights.
Even Thursday night's game was a good game.
Thursday's was very
Yeah.
good, yes, but
weekend football.
the one, it was a great weekend actually, a lot of great games. But that's the thing that we did see most of the weekend is very tight games that were played by we'll say relatively evenly matched teams for the most part. Even if they were a little uneven, they were still very nasty tight games back and forth, and that's exactly what Minnesota did. That's been a little bit of an inconsistent Dallas team that we've seen in the past. That wasn't the inconsistent form of Dallas, though. Dallas played pretty damn well.
Yeah, they did.
So for Minnesota to hang on, to go back and forth and trade blows with them, that showed a lot of toughness. Just mental and physical toughness flat out from the entire Minnesota Viking roster, from coaches on down. The entire team deserves to have a hats off on that one because that's not an easy win in any way, shape, or form. And they took it.
No.
Very important win.
Mike,
Massively.
what'd you think? Anything impress you on that game?
Yeah, and my good friend Austin would agree with me.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-oh.
It was Kirk Cousins.
Oh, no.
He finally showed up in a primetime game.
Very true.
How many times has this kid gone out and done nothing?
Yeah.
He showed it.
Yeah.
And again, you find him in the back of the end zone with a one-handed grab. He touches 5 feet down before he falls out of bounds. Kept control, touchdown. They were on that one play alone said to me, if they pull this out, it's because Cousins is going to find a way to finally win a primetime game and look special. He did.
Yeah.
And he's not worth the money, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They paid him way too much money for just to have a quarterback. He's not what they really want, but at the same time, he finally showed he does belong in a conversation of maybe second-tier quarterbacks.
Okay.
And that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Because you look at everything else that happened that weekend, and you're still getting those roughing the passer calls on quarterbacks for what? Just touching them?
The calls this year in general, I think, are
And
whacked.
Cousins is the same quarterback that I link with Eli. You've never gotten those type of. You've always taken those type of hits, but the refs never call it. But he played a game where, okay, maybe now they're going to start seeing him in that Aaron Rodgers light, but they won't.
Nope.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that I actually am kind of impressed with, and that is Delvin Cook. Mm-hmm. And, it's no secret that after Adrian Peterson left that team, they spent quite a few years searching around trying to find their next big running back. And, I mean, if you think about some of the names they've gone through, it's like Matt, how do you say it? Asiata?
Asiata.
He was there for a little while. He had a cup of coffee. Latavius Murray.
Maybe a sandwich.
Latavius Murray was there. Jerk McKinnon, I know that they had big hopes for him. I think Amir Abdullah is still somewhere in the fold, when they traded him over.
Yeah.
But I think that Cook is starting to look every bit of the draft pick that they hoped in the running back rather that they hoped he would be when they drafted him back in 2017. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of wondering, I mean, do you guys think he's he had a lot of injuries early on.
Yeah, he did.
But he's showing the numbers now. Do you guys think he's kind of turned the corner and maybe becoming one of the I hate the word elite, but let's say one of the better backs in the league. You think he's becoming one?
You have to put him in that category, leading the league in NFL. I mean, he's almost at 1,000 yards already. You have to put him in that category. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I would have put him in that category in 2017 because when he got his first carry, right off the bat, you saw something out of him. You saw something special out of him. And it seemed like a good marriage to be in Minnesota with the line that they were putting together, the offense that they put together. He seemed to just come right into stride, and then that knee injury really derailed him. Yep. So, but he looked every bit the part of one of the better backs in the NFL right out of the gate, and it was just like, just get him some more touches, get him some more time, and he will absolutely be among the best. I just, for the love of God, really hope that he doesn't pull what we've seen over the last few years with other running backs. Get paid. He should get paid. Mm-hmm. The ones that we've talked about in the past should be paid, but don't go astronomical. You're not the quarterback. You're not the face of the franchise. You should get your money and you should be paid handsomely for it. But you should not be. Do not go extreme. Do not become an extremist.
Don't ask me 17 mil.
All drama and doing all that craziness.
Yeah, don't hold out. Don't sit on the bench. Don't do this and make this like huge Instagram or Twitter or whatever type of drama that you got going. Be Delvin Cook. Be incredible. You'll get paid for it. You'll absolutely get paid.
True.
And as long as you just don't make me upset with the league, or with what I'm watching, I guess you could say. That's the one thing I really hope doesn't happen, because this kid right now is by far the most talented, at least for the season, that we're watching, without a doubt. He's been the most consistent on top of that.
Yeah.
And it shows by almost having 1,000 yards through.
Yeah.
For 9 games, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, you think about that, and some of the players that they got on this team, you forget how good they are. Look at Thielen, and obviously Thielen didn't even play this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's out, and so the bulk of that load is on Stephon Diggs, which you look back and those two work in tandem for a reason. It's because you have to worry about both. I actually was a little bit more afraid of this because of Thielen. I think I mentioned it last week when we were talking about the playoffs thing. Well, the injury to Thielen scares me because now you lose a weapon. It didn't matter. It really didn't matter. Diggs played great. Kyle
Rudolph came out of
thankfully came about. Mm-hmm. So maybe it was just that injury, unfortunate as it may be, helped the entire Minnesota Vikings to actually realize, well, we got Diggs, we can now use Rudolph again for the dynamic player he is, and we got Cook. Let's move on with life and just play the way we're supposed to play. So
I mean, came together as a team. That was what was important.
Yeah,
they have the playmakers.
They absolutely do.
There's no doubt about it. My question is, and I hate to beat the dead horse because I know we talked a little bit about this last weekend, or I should say last Tuesday.
Yep.
But things are so fluid in the NFL, constant changing, and so I will, at risk of sounding very redundant, I'll ask the question again: can they catch the Green Bay Packers?
Listen. The way that Green Bay is like sneaking by with their wins. Mm-hmm. every week or losing to the Chargers. I think they can. I absolutely think that the Minnesota could catch Green Bay. They're only 1.5 games basically.
Yeah.
And they still got to play Green Bay again at home.
I mean, it's interesting because you're right. I feel I'm not saying Green Bay is a bad team at all.
No,
Obviously,
they're an absolutely outstanding team, but
Right.
they have gotten lucky on a lot of their wins.
They've got some weaknesses, and it's just a matter of
I mean, that game this week against Carolina, probably they should have gotten a chance to go for 2 and tie the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that close, that touchdown at the end of the game. So I think if Minnesota keeps going the way they're going, I got the schedule right here. They could easily beat Denver. They got to bye. Seattle's going to be a tough one. Detroit they can easily beat. The Chargers they can easily beat. They got to play Green Bay at home, and then Chicago. I mean, you might only see one more loss out of that.
That's true.
That's very true. But I'm going to go the more negative route on this. I honestly don't, because there's a few reasons. One, I didn't have them among my playoff teams, and I'm not a big fan of tap dancing. I still see the problems of what I believe. I could be totally wrong. It's fine. I'm an adult. I'll deal with it. But,
You'll
I'm
live.
not coming back to this show ever again.
never. I'm done if Minnesota makes it. No, but the other thing is, and this is something that I noticed a lot more this past weekend than I have all season, but it's happened all season. There's no need for any of these teams, like Green Bay, for example, who's playing in friggin' snow, to apologize for what could be deemed an ugly win. It's a win. You
Very
beat,
true.
and you beat a tough team in Carolina while doing it. So, and I've heard enough, from my own fanhood, and I'm sure we have Dave Bandich, who's a Browns fan, who's heard more than enough of it. Who cares? You won. Who cares if it's ugly or pretty or however it may be? And yes, the Packers lost, to the Chargers. I almost said San Diego again, man.
There we go.
The Packers did lose to the Chargers in a relatively ugly game and then rebounded against another tough team and beat them. The only thing that this is proving to me is that out of 32 NFL teams, there's not a damn Super Bowl favorite in the bunch. This season has been nothing but parity, and it's wonderful, not only for us as fans, for the NFL, because the ratings are they're loving every little bit of this. Because week after week, you don't know who is going to be what. And I mean, we've seen the Jets beat the Cowboys, a team that was a lock for the playoffs.
Yeah.
We saw the Chargers beat the Packers, a team that we all thought going into that game was a lock on favorite. So as far as going back to the original question, despite my little rant there, I don't want to tap dance away from it. Minnesota has their work cut out because they're still behind them. And yes, they do have a game, but Moss nails the schedule. But again, the way the season is played out, I cannot say of these 6 games they will be 5-1. I can't predict that in any way, shape, or form.
It's any given Sunday,
exactly,
or Thursday, or Monday.
I'm going to stick to the fact that they will not catch Green Bay just because I said it last week.
All right, okay. Mike, you want to break this tie? Where do you see? Are they winning that division? Are they going in as a wild card, or are they not going in at all?
They're going in. I just don't know if they're going to overtake the division. To piggyback on other points, you got to remember when Dalvin Cook was drafted to Minnesota, he was coming off an injury. He ran in college on I believe, partially torn or semi-inflamed hamstring and was still putting up over 1,000 yards. And it's at a school that Moss doesn't like, and I do because
I saw them. I saw him play a few times.
I wanted to go to that school, but apparently I wasn't 6 foot, so that ain't going to happen. But Dalvin Cook was a Florida State Seminole and ran all over the ACC for the better part of 2 years.
You're poking the bear right there.
Seriously.
I said the ACC. I didn't.
Mention the SEC. Don't mention the SEC. Don't do it.
Yeah. But
Who's the best team in Florida right now?
Oh, boy.
that's true. But you got to sit back and you got to realize he came in hurt, and he still was doing well until he really got hurt in an NFL type of injury. Now he's coming along into his own, and he's still setting and breaking things that not very many people thought he could, unless you're really a fan of Florida State or you really hate the team because you watched this kid play. You knew what a talent he was going to be in the NFL. You're waiting for Adam Thielen to come back because, as Jamie said, this kid's going to take away from something, and there's Diggs. Now you got to focus on Diggs. Now you got over here. They have, in my opinion, 5 playmakers that they can't put the ball in everybody's hands, but they're going to make noise doing it. And I truly think that they can get in, and they are going to make a very loud noise. Are they a Super Bowl contender right now? I'm going to say yes. Are they going to get in? I don't think so.
Really?
I think they can get there. I just don't know if they have the next step to it, because there was a team that took a hard L that everybody thought was the odds-on favorite to win the NFC in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. They took a very big L, and they looked awful doing it. I don't foresee them losing next week, because they're going to come out and they're going to be like, we just got hit in the mouth by a team we should have blew out, like another team in Baltimore blew somebody out.
Oh, no.
That's what they should have did to the Falcons, the way the Ravens won their game. And it didn't happen.
Well, they don't win the division, they make it to the playoffs. Plain and simple. That's why I'm putting my foot down right now. They don't win the division, they're definitely making it as a wild card.
She's putting her foot down.
I am. My hands,
Conversation's
whatever you
done.
want to call it.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
The only thing I could add to this is I'm glad I'm not in the middle of this Florida State crap, because I'm waiting for punches to be thrown
That's during the break.
during the break. Yeah, so I'll be in the bathroom.
It's all right. I'll come live from the swamp for the Florida State game right on my Garage Bar Disruption Network.
That's what
Just wait for
shows
it.
come down to. Basically, we're having a battle royal over here.
Place your bets on the fight that's about to happen during the break between Erica Moss and Mike Zigarelli.
There you go. So obviously,
Okay, I'm losing.
Ray's not here, so we don't have house money for you this
No.
week. But I promise you, we will get back to him next week when he
Yes.
does come in. And are we losing you next week, Moss?
No.
2 weeks.
But
2
you-
weeks.
But don't forget Jamie over here.
Well, he's coming back
Okay.
with his IR. So that's what
Okay.
we're going to do. We'll take our break.
Okay.
And when we come back, Jamie, you got the IR ready to go.
I do.
And then we'll talk about, real quick, we'll talk about some of these upsets that happened in the NFL this week. And boy, there were a lot of them. Let's
were
go
a
to our other break. We'll be right back.
Hello, and welcome back to 3 and Out. I am Jamie, and this is this week's IR. We're doing this in memory of the missing Ray Nation today, who last week admitted to me that I overlooked an injury that has been going on all season, but the poor gentleman in Cam Newton was put on IR last week with the Liz Frank injury, which is a very bizarre injury. Now, to give you a little bit of a background on it, it's named after a French surgeon from way back when who actually first diagnosed the Liz Frank complex, and it is a foot injury. Now, the hind foot, which makes up your heel and most of your ankle bones, is not terribly affected in a Liz Frank injury, and the forefoot, which is your toes and the base of what is called your metatarsals, or the very end of your base of your foot, are also not usually involved. It's the midfoot. So the metatarsals, the base of your foot, there's ligaments that hold them to the tarsal bones behind them, like your heel, for example, and some of your ankle bones. Now, what happens in this injury, it could happen a number of ways, and oddly enough, usually masks the same way as an ankle sprain would. The same symptoms, same everything, usually the same outcome of injury and same I guess, prognosis for the most part, with a few little subtle and horrible differences. Now, first off, you can do it by just flat out rolling your ankle in a certain way and having somebody land on it. Or you can have, in possibly the case of Cam Newton, a very large man land on your foot with such extreme force that it breaks the midfoot metatarsals. In the case of Cam Newton, it's fairly difficult to tell because the injury happened so early that they diagnosed it as, like I said before, a sprain. And as it didn't get better and more therapy and more tests came about, they started to realize that this was a little bit more severe than they thought. So not only are the ligaments torn, but there's also breaks in there as well. And so this is a pretty much multiple injuries all occurring at once. Now, what this means for Cam Newton and the prognosis going forward is he'll have to have surgery if he hasn't already. And depending on the success of the surgery, you're talking anywhere from 6 to 12-week recovery time with various casts and walking boots in order to get back to relatively normal walking function. Following that, this is extensive physical therapy, rehab type of style stuff, gradually progressing to actual full contact sports or even any type of sport whatsoever. That usually takes upwards of a year. So a Liz Frank injury, at the best case scenario from surgical point, is about a year. Cam Newton could be looking at a little bit longer based on age and severity of injury. We might be looking at 18 months or so. So it's really tough to diagnose these. It's also tough to give anybody a full prognosis on what to expect from this guy. So any of those ideas of him signing elsewhere next season might want to be put on hold a little bit until you see how he recovers from this injury. With that said, Cam, you're a damn good football player, and I'd like to see you on the short end of that. I am Jamie, and this has been this week's IR.
Did you ever see Revenge of the Nerds 2?
Of course.
They get stuck on that island, and they're like, so infinite bigness equals infinite smallness.
Yes.
And then Ogre's like, what if CAT spelled dog?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like sometimes when you're talking about this.
Because you have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like a different language.
The funniest part about that is when I say things like metatarsals and hit hindfoot and
Right.
midfoot and everything. I try to explain exactly in layman's terms what the hell I'm talking about, which makes it even worse.
No, but it's true. It's like it's great because you absolutely know exactly what the hell you're talking about. But when I hear this stuff, it makes me realize how maybe I should have just gone to school for something else, man. No wonder you get paid the bucks.
Let's put it that I owe a lot of money.
I owe a lot of money.
Let's put it that way, okay?
It's my claim to fame. They'll be like, "What do you do for a living?" Yeah, nothing really impressive, but I know Jamie. Damn it,
I know that guy.
I don't have to know anything.
He works in
I know
surgery. He's an anatomy professor. He's now a stagehand part-time.
There you go.
Good grief. Hey, I had to tell you something. When you were running out of the bathroom during our break, while these two were having
Having their little...
Yeah, we're having a battle.
their bunkhouse
Yep.
battle royal here, the only thing I could think of is if you watched the show from yesterday,
Yeah.
Scott used the bathroom and totally forgot we were doing a show.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And just kind of wandered out here after using it and sat down.
Sat down. He's like still standing. The camera's on him. He's like kind of
live?
stretching it out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Just like we're still right in the middle of a conversation. We're like, so what do you think about that? He's like, oh, I don't know. Are we on? Like, yeah, dude, we're in the middle of a show.
Yeah. Still happening, Scott. Still happening.
Funny.
And now that's for all
Scott.
of the internet to see.
Yes. So there you go. If you want, it's like a blooper reel.
Oh, it's wonderful.
show.
That All Pucked Up show is awesome too, by the way. So
Thank
any of you guys that are hockey fans out there, tune in on Mondays at noon?
Yeah. Yeah. Noon.
It's All Pucked Up.
Yep.
Exactly.
If you listen to me, you'd never know when it is because I tell you a different time every day. I don't even tell you the right day. So,
the
Thursday.
benefit is you can always go back and listen, which is what I have to do because I got off campus yesterday at 6:30, so that's when I pop it on.
But I got to tell you something about that show too, and it's almost like this show. Even though we all joke and we say, oh well, we're just kind of like local people who enjoy watching sports and we follow and everything. Some of the stuff that like Scott, I'll give it to Scott. Scott knows hockey inside and out.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It's insane.
Yeah. And we've been told a bunch of times that dude is legit.
Yeah.
He should be on ESPN. And the only thing
He absolutely should.
and the only thing I can come back with is he should, but ESPN don't talk about.
I was just gonna say that, but they don't talk about hockey.
But
You
if they
mean
ever
like
do,
you mean like CBS, right?
the only
CBS
person.
Sports, yeah.
yeah,
That's
Or
hilarious.
excuse me, NBCSN. That's the one that plays a lot of hockey, right?
yeah, one of those guys.
I'll give them a shout out because I can watch the Capitals every now and again.
But it's great, and you guys are the same way. Sometimes I listen to what you say, and I'm like, oh my god, I really need to make some money so I can pay you guys. Oh, that's great.
I don't wear short enough skirts.
Hey.
So lots of shockers this week. Like
Yes.
I said, and we got to hurry up here. I'm
Yeah,
looking
we
at the
do.
clock.
Oh, yeah.
We got the Uncle Louie coming up here in just a few minutes.
Nice.
Yes, we do.
So they're going to kick us out, and we got to get going. But lots of shockers this weekend. Lots of big upsets.
Lots.
Real quick, what was the biggest shocker for you, my friend?
I thought I had one, but I'm thinking I'm sticking with the Saints and the Falcons.
Yeah.
I stole mine.
Was that the biggest shock?
That was obviously the biggest shocker because I lost $1,000. That was my chance of winning $1,000. Was picking New Orleans and see ya.
Listen, before anybody thinks Erica's got like a degenerate gambling problem,
Don't. I didn't pay $1,000. I had a chance to win $1,000.
this was a survival
There's a difference. There's a difference.
It's been going on all
So
season.
thank you, Saints, for ruining that chance for me.
Yeah, even Buffalo didn't do that to you. Just say
No,
say.
Buffalo, kept me going another week. So
Yep.
Actually, she really is a gambler. We got to get out of here as soon as possible because the
You're heading out. Yeah.
the bookies are sending their thugs over here to.
Yeah, it's not actually Uncle Louie. It's Uncle Louie and bookies.
yeah, the big $20 I'm willing to throw in.
Jamie, what's your biggest shocker?
My biggest shocker, and I know there was a ton of upsets, but the biggest one was Miami beating the Colts. The Colts have played a pretty solid season after the retirement of Andrew Luck in particular, but I think the biggest dagger was Jacoby Brissett missing this past week, and it was Brian Hoyer, of course. But still, you would say on paper, the Colts defense is still far superior than what the Dolphin offense could have brought. And sure, they kept the score low, but they still didn't keep it manageable enough to actually come out with the victory, lose 16-12. Mm-hmm. That was a big shocker on that one. Regardless, the Saints game, I thought, with the Falcons and everything, Falcons still have a ton of talent.
Yeah, they do.
They're not a bad team, but I went with that just because the Dolphins have been a punching bag, but they played pretty good football for about 3 weeks straight, and they're going to upset some other people.
Yep, they sure are.
As the season goes on.
I would like to thank the Dolphins because as a Steelers fan, I was very happy to see the Colts lose.
Oh, even as a Bills fan, I was very happy to see that too.
So
because
thank
they're
you,
doing the
Miami.
same. And it's anything that makes us all happy for the playoff
true.
race. That's exactly it. But
Listen, so I'm going to give you my 3 shockers from this weekend.
Okay.
All right. First of all,
Was your bet?
no. The first shocker, I got to give a little tip of the hat there to my Steelers because nobody gave them a shot.
That wasn't a shock.
Nobody gave them a snowball's chance in hell of beating the
I know Jamie and Ray for sure did not give them.
Hell no, I didn't.
Yeah, and that actually leads into my number 2 shocker is that the guys from the D-line actually caught up to us in points this week.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get one game. Did we?
Nope.
No,
we lost.
we didn't.
Bad week for. Oh no, we got
No, we got
Seattle.
Seattle. I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
We got Seattle, but they got Seattle too.
Yeah.
And then
It was
we
a
lost
wash
on the
Yeah,
other two.
it was a
So
wash.
that's a shocker that those guys caught up to us.
Yep.
Gonna have to rein that right in here. And number 3 shocker was, of course, the game that I was saying a little bit earlier. Seattle and San Francisco, probably the game of the year so far.
Yep.
And my God.
And San Francisco was without a lot of their players. That's what's scary.
San Francisco was. George Kittle up in the booth jumping around and cheering the guys on. But what'd you guys think of that game? I mean, what did you learn from that? I don't even know. I know it was a late game. I know you probably went to bed.
I was in and out of sleep.
But
I was awake the whole time, and for fantasy purposes, frantic, of course. I won't even get into that because it's not about me. But going to that game, what I learned is if that was to be our NFC Championship game, I would go out of that a very happy guy because that was outstanding football.
It was great football.
All the way through. You saw a little bit of everything. I mean, it was almost a dagger in my heart to watch Russell Wilson throw that overtime interception because he's driving. I'm like, yeah, he's got him. Oh crap, he doesn't. Like now it's the Niner turn, and like, holy man, this is a really tough game. Like to even watch, even as a non-fan of those teams, I was still very invested, like watching those two.
I'm going to tell you something. San Francisco, hell of a lot more legit.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though they lost, they definitely are
I actually hope Ray
real
Nation,
team out there.
I hope Ray Nation kind of because we've thought that for a few weeks, and he hasn't been on the bandwagon yet.
They are legit, and if
no Kittle,
if that's going down, then that's
rookie kicker.
Rookie's an understatement. Chase McLaughlin was on the practice squad for Buffalo at the beginning of the year. He was signed off the practice squad by the Chargers for 1 kick. So he had 1 kick coming into that.
Game.
And then he signed, of course, with the Niners earlier this week.
Yeah.
And ties the damn game.
Ice in them veins.
And then
Holy crap.
Breida goes out and Emmanuel Sanders goes out.
Yeah.
So,
like they said at the end of that game, the moment might have been a little bit too big for him at the very end.
Sure.
But I'm going to tell you what, man, to be a rookie kicker and never been put in that situation before, hats off to that kid to be able to do what he did. But man, I think we're
He's-
we're in for a treat as this
Yeah.
schedule winds down here. Mike, anything else you want to add to that?
The second half of this season is going to show a lot of people different things about maybe their favorite teams and maybe a team that you don't know what's going on.
Right on.
But I'll tell you right now, the far gone conclusion of just wrapping up a trophy and sending it somewhere, it's not going to happen.
No.
I don't care. I don't care what anybody says about that team in the upper part of the United States.
We don't talk about them. You mean
They're-
you mean Minnesota?
On the East Coast.
All right.
We're not gift wrapping that trophy to them at all.
Hey, listen, we got to wrap this up real quick. What
Yeah.
you watching this weekend?
I'm going to watch the Red Zone and try to take in everything I can. I don't have any plans of watching one particular game anymore.
Moss?
I am Homer in it, and I'm watching my Steelers take on the Browns on Thursday because you know what? Steelers are hot.
There you go.
Jamie?
Houston and Baltimore, you got two of the best mobile quarterbacks that are playing lights out all season. I think that's going to be a fun offensive output all day.
Should be good. Should be good.
Yep.
Listen,
Yep.
everybody who's listening, we appreciate everything. We were taking a look at some of our numbers from last week, and they are way up.
That's
And
awesome.
We love that. So
Keep listening.
yeah, thank you so much. Keep sharing. If you have any friends, tell them about us, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Absolutely.
Feel free to send them in anytime, and we'll do our thing. So I think that's going to be doing it. Ray, of course, will be back next week.
Yeah.
And Mike, you will be back. Relegated to the bench once again, my friend, but it's always a pleasure having you in
Thanks,
here.
Mike.
Thanks for coming out.
Happy to be here.
Yes,
And when
certainly.
Coach calls me again, I'm off the bench.
There you go.
Put me in, Coach. I'm ready. So, anyways, I'm Rich Masucci, and for Mike, and for Erica, and for Jamie, you guys enjoy the weekend coming up and enjoy the games. We'll talk to you soon. Be good. See you.
Later.
We out.